This video is the first in a series about using PowerPivot to import data into an Excel workbook. This first video is an overview topic that will help you better understand the process of importing data and also help you understand the other videos in the series.
Specifically, in this video we'll cover terminology, the benefits of using PowerPivot to import data into Excel, and we'll go over a basic workflow.
In the next videos in this series, we'll show you how to import data from many different data sources, including Access databases, SQL Server databases, Excel spreadsheets, data feeds, and more.
When it comes to importing data, PowerPivot for Excel has three incredible advantages over Basic Excel. First, Basic Excel has a limit of 1 million rows of data. Excel with PowerPivot lets me import and work with as many as hundreds of millions of rows of data, all on my desktop machine. The actual number will depend on the physical memory available on your desktop machine.
Second, as with any Excel workbook, I can import data from diverse data sources. But unlike regular Excel, PowerPivot lets me combine the data into a single cohesive unit of data. This is sometimes referred to as a view or a model or a PowerPivot application. Combining data from different sources is done by creating relationships between all the imported data sources.
And finally, after I import and combine all of this data, it exists within an Excel workbook in a familiar environment and format. I can copy, move, reuse, and repurpose that data as needed.
This video series uses terminology that may be new for some of you. To avoid any confusion, let's review some of the terms before we get any further.
When we import data using PowerPivot, the first thing we do is select the data source. A data source can be a database, data feed, spreadsheet, and more.
Now let's say I want to import data from three data sources: a SQL database I purchased from a vendor, my corporate access sales database, and an Excel spreadsheet list of customers. The purchased SQL database is named All Books and contains data about every book I sell. My corporate access database is named Sales and contains data collected from sales of my books. The third data source is an Excel spreadsheet of all past customers.
Within these data sources, the data is organized by tables, and within those tables by rows and by columns. When I import data from these sources, I can import the entire data source, or I can filter and select just those tables and columns that I want to import.
For example, in my All Books database, I'm only interested in the table that includes ISBN, title, and cost for science fiction books. And for the current analysis, I'm only interested in importing the columns for ISBN number and title. When I import my data, I select the one table and those two columns to import. From my Access database, I import the Internet Sales table, but not the tax or number of items columns. And from my Excel spreadsheet, I import all the data.
Now my PowerPivot workbook in Excel contains all the data that I need for my analysis. However, I still can't create my analysis until I join the data together. Basically, I want to make sure my tables of data can all talk to each other. I join the data together by creating relationships between the tables I imported. Creating relationships is covered in detail in another video and also online.
Now let's take a look at a basic workflow.
The basic workflow for importing data is fairly straightforward. First, open Excel 2010. Next, open the PowerPivot window. The PowerPivot window opens over the Excel window. Select the type of data source to use: from database, from report, from data feeds, from text, from other source. And then select the specific data source to use. For this demo, I'll select from database and then from access. Provide the information PowerPivot needs to locate and connect to that data source. Sometimes you may want to include all the data from that data source, but if not, identify the subset of data to import. Import the data, and when the import is complete, review the data and any imported relationships, and then save the workbook. Now you're ready to start importing data.
I recommend watching the videos in the series in order, especially if you're following along using your own installation of PowerPivot for Excel. Some of the steps in one video build upon steps taken in a previous video. Thank you for taking the time to view this video. I hope you found it helpful.